What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome officially to the first video on the World of Juice basketball channel. Now, I say first official video. I did drop a little introduction video a couple months ago, but then I kind of abandoned. I kind of abandoned the channel, I guess. I don't really want to say that I abandoned it, but because I didn't forget about it. But I kind of just, I uploaded that first introduction little like 4, 5, 6 minute video, however long it is. And then I kind of just, I got more occupied by my main channel, which is the World of Juice channel, where I do mainly Madden and all the NFL stuff and a bunch of random stuff also, but mainly just the Madden stuff. And I got preoccupied by it. And in that introduction video, I mentioned that I wanted to kind of use this channel as an avenue for my love of basketball. I do like basketball a lot. I don't like it as much as the NFL. That's my favorite. That's my favorite sport to play and to watch and to talk about and stuff. But I do have a big love of basketball. I love older basketball, like the 90s basketball and the early 2000s basketball. That's the era that I grew up in with the 2006 Miami Heat team. That's my favorite team, is the Miami Heat, if you did not know. I'm a big fan of Udonis Haslem and James Jones and Alonzo Mourning and all those guys. White Chocolate, Jason Williams, obviously Dwayne Wade. So, I mean, like, the guys, Mike Bibby of that era, Kobe Bryant, obviously, LeBron James. I mean, those guys, the guys that I grew up with, Steve Nash, Ray Allen. So I have a history of watching a lot of basketball. I watched Kobe Bryant's final game. I watched the finals where Ray Allen hit the shot to win against, well, not to win, but to take the lead against the Spurs in the finals as in Miami. I watched a bunch of crazy stuff over the years. And so I just wanted to have a channel where I could focus all my basketball content onto this one. Maybe not all of it, because I still have the Hornets Legends Fantasy Draft Series on the main channel, and that's going to stay on the main channel. But other than that, I'm going to have all the basketball content that I want to do, because I've got a bunch of ideas. I watch a bunch of YouTubers, obviously Kenny, KOT4Q, Click Productions, Six Rings of Steel, all those guys. You know, the big time 2K YouTubers, and obviously the huge ones like Troy Dan and all those guys, man. I watch them all. I'm fans of them, and I want to try my hand at some 2K content. I've dabbled with it in the past on the main channel, but it hasn't really taken off, and I understand that because my algorithm on the main channel is geared towards more NFL and Madden content, and I understand that, and that's why I've transitioned more to that. Now, in recent weeks and months, I've kind of sprinkled in little one-off series and little expansion kind of stuff where I do like little walkthroughs and of gameplays of story modes and all that kind of stuff, and just sprinkle in other stuff other than Madden here and there to give the viewers a little bit of something fresh, so it's not just Madden, because I know that can get kind of boring and lose kind of some of the enjoyment of watching it, especially when you get into the non-Madden months, which is like the summertime and stuff. So that's when Madden kind of falls off a little bit. So I wanted to make the World of Juice basketball channel to get all the basketball content that I wanted to do. Now, I think that I mentioned in that video that I wanted to do a little bit like talking about basketball, like things that are going on around the league, like trades or free agent signings, or what's going on in the playoffs, or if somebody's going to make the playoffs, or stuff like that, big news that goes on around the league, like who made the All-Star team and stuff like that. But I'm currently having some problems with the recording software that I use to record my face cam. So until I figure out why it's doing that and the problems that I'm having, then there's gonna be no face cam videos, so that stuff won't happen. It'll just be the actual like 2K gameplay and stuff. So I mean, that's still gonna be pretty fun. But yeah, I just wanted to make the World of Juice basketball channel to kind of just get the 2K content that I wanna produce and that I feel like you guys wanna watch out to you, with the algorithm actually 100% behind it, instead of maybe like 25% behind it, or even less probably. So that's a little bit of the backstory on me and on why I wanted to create this channel. And the reason that I'm posting this first initial, I guess you can say quote unquote gameplay video, because there is a little bit of gameplay, I guess, with practice and stuff. But the reason I'm doing this is because on the main channel, and there's going to be a link in the description to my main channel if you care. Like I said, it's mainly focused on Madden and 2K, or not 2K, well, a little bit 2K with the Charlotte Hornets thing, but it's mainly focused on Madden and the NFL. There's other stuff on there if you want to check it out. There will be a link in the description to it, as there will be always in these videos going forward on this channel. There will always be a link in the description to my main channel, so you can go check that out if you feel like you want to. Then you don't have to. But I wanted to do this video because I feel like I'm at a good spot with my content on the main channel. I have a pretty good amount of control over when a video is going to go out. Is it edited? Is the quality up to the standard that I have? So I feel like I'm in a good spot there. I finally caught up, and that's one of the reasons why I kind of put this channel on the back burner after that first initial welcome to the channel video, because at the time I had all these big plans of I want to do this video, I want to do a rebuilding video, or a franchise, or all this kind of stuff, whatever you want to say. I want to do all that, but at the same time I needed to focus mainly on the main channel, and I put the main channel, obviously because it's the main channel, I put it on in the front, like as my full focus. So this channel kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit. But now we're a couple months later. I've kind of built up a nice little backlog of good quality videos that are edited nicely and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like I actually have a little bit of time to be able to put into the other channel. And I'm not saying that it's going to be as consistent as of uploading as the main channel. The main channel obviously is every day at 3 o'clock on the dot. So that's not going to be, this channel's not going to be that. There's not going to be as consistent of that video, at least not for the long run. And maybe in the start, maybe like after this video, I may upload one, I don't know, like a couple of days later or something like that. But it's definitely not going to be every single day at a certain time or something. So you may get one like every other day or so, whatever, depending on how much I can get edited. So with that being said, I just want to say I'm happy for the opportunity to get this started and actually get it off the blocks and get it going. I'm excited to have this experience. I hope you guys are along for the ride, and I hope you guys are happy. If you are, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, join the Juice Club. I say that on the main channel, now I get to say it on this channel as well. Join that Juice Club. We'd love to have you. And with all that being said, I guess it's finally time to welcome you to Oklahoma City as we get introduced to the first franchise officially on the channel, where we will realistically rebuild the Oklahoma City Thunder. Thank you guys for stopping by. I appreciate it. I hope you guys are along for the ride. Let's get to it. The first thing you need to know about the OKC Thunder is that they are interesting. Let's just say that. They have had some previous experience in the finals with their big three of Westbrook, Harden, and Durant, but ever since then, they haven't really been anything. Until they drafted this man right here, ShaiGilAlexander, and he is a otherworldly young talent. He can hit from long range, from 3. He can hit from mid-range. He can hit little spot-up jumpers. He can hit all kinds of stuff. He can obviously go to the rim at will. He's ultra athletic. He's super young. He's a perfect building block for this young team because this team in general is super young. So having a guy of star caliber like ShaiGilAlexander, I mean, the shots that he can put up are just astronomically out of this world. Like, he's just a different level of athlete. He's on the Ja Morant scale of uber athleticism and freakish athleticism. And like I said, he can go to the rim at will. He can shoot long range. He can hit the jumpers. He can pass the ball. He's a facilitator. He's almost an automatic triple-double. I mean, this guy, you ask him to do anything and he'll do it. That's just basically who ShaiGilAlexander is. And that's the perfect guy for a GM like me to want to build around. And I see oodles of potential in this man. And I see a perfect face of the franchise potential guy that could lead this team to a championship in the near future. Maybe not in the near future, but in the future. I like his athleticism. Like I said, I like his potential. He's a great leader. He's all around just one of the best dudes you want to have on a team. Like if you want to start a team, ShaiGilAlexander is on the top 10 list, top 15 list, I would say, of guys you want to build a team around. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing here with ShaiGilAlexander. Next up, we got Josh Giddy, the Australian sharpshooter who is a famous TikTok star, I guess you could say. But we don't really necessarily care about his off-the-field shenanigans as much as we care about his on-the-court play, because this man right here could be a franchise stalwart. And I'm not just talking about that because he's one of our highest rated players on the team, even our second highest rated player on the team, in fact. I'm talking about Josh Giddy with the potential that he has, only being 19 years old. That's the thing about this OKC roster. 90% of it is under 25. So the potential for this team is out of this world. They just need a GM to come in and shift those pieces around, move those puzzle pieces around, put them in the right spots to make the picture. And I think I'm the guy for that. I mean, just take a look at some of the stuff that Josh Giddy's doing. He can hit from long range. Some could consider him a sharpshooter. He could hit from mid-range. He's a great free throw shooter. He can even dunk the ball. He can go to the rim. He can fight through contact. He can pass the ball. He can facilitate just like Shai. He can be point guard. He can run the show if Shai's on the bench. See, that's the kind of player that you want as a second star, somebody that doesn't have to be on the court at the same time as the main star, but when he is on the court at the same time as the main star, then it's going to be fireworks. But you can put your trust into Josh Giddy when Shai's on the bench to not go into a scoring drought because your star is not on the court. But when you have a guy like Josh Giddy, who I feel like could be a star in the making if you use him right and you develop him the right way and get him to make the right shots, I feel like Josh Giddy could become that. And he needs to be put in the right situations. I feel like we have the right situations here in Oklahoma City, and I see a ton of potential in him, and I'm excited to see the future. He's got a lot of potential. He does have some off-the-court issues where he can be a little unpredictable. Maybe he's a little bit too much caught up in the spotlight, or he wants all the eyes on him. But hey, who doesn't want all the eyes on them, really, when we're in the entertainment business? I mean, who doesn't want that? So if you're willing to look past the kind of semi stuff, that the little things that Josh Giddy has off the court, and you just take a look at his true on the court potential, Josh Giddy is the second star on this team. Next on the list is Lu Dort. He is not necessarily known to be a dynamic scorer by any means. He can drop you 10 to 15 if he needs to. But what Luguentz Dortz brings to the table is his defense and his tenacity. He's one of those grit and grind kind of players that you need to have at least one of these guys on a team if you want to be successful in the NBA, especially in 2022, because a guy like this just brings that extra oomph that you need to a squad when you have a star like Shai, a shooter like Josh Giddy. You need to have a guy who has the grit and the grind like Lu Dort. You're not going to ask him to go out there and hit 16 threes in a game or go off for a 30-piece every night. But if you can ask Lu Dortz to go out there, get you 10 points, 3-4 steals, a couple of blocks, and lock down his guy, his target for like under 10 points themselves, then you had a good day. Even if you end up losing that game, you had a good day because you know Lu Dortz did his job. So we're never going to put Lu Dortz in a situation where we need to rely on him to score, because that's just not the kind of guy that he is. That's just not the kind of NBA player that he is. I'm not saying that he could never do that. Like I said, he could go off for a 15, 20-point game if he needed to, like if he just gets the hot hand. But consistently, that's not what we're looking for. We follow up Luguentz Dortz with another younger player. Like I said, all these guys are super, super young. We follow up Lu Dort with a man named Tre Mann. And this guy, 20 years old, shooting guard, unbelievable potential. A lot of these guys have great potential. They just need to be put in the right situations. And I see a lot of good potential in Tre Mann. He's a great facilitator at the shooting guard position. He can knock down the occasional three. But Tre Mann's kind of just that spark plug off the bench. He's never probably going to be a starter on an NBA roster, but he's just that guy that you want on your bench that any given night could drop you 30 if he got the hot hand. Like that's the kind of guy that Tre Mann is. Now, I'm not saying for the future of this team, is he the perfect fit at shooting guard? Probably not. I mean, with Shai and Josh Giddy running those positions, I mean, Tre Mann's only 6'3", so he's really only got point guard and shooting guard as a realistic options for him. So, am I saying that Tre Mann is safe? We'll have to see on that one. I don't necessarily know if Tre Mann fits the right mold for what we're trying to build here in Oklahoma City. He does have a ton of value. He has a lot of potential. I would love to keep him as that spark plug off the bench. He would certainly be a welcome member of the team, but I'm just saying he's not necessarily safe and a lock. Another guy that probably fits that same kind of mold is Theo Maladon. Another 20-year-old guy. He's an inch taller at 6'4". He's a point guard / shooting guard, can drop both positions. He's a very, very well-rounded shooter. He can hit the three. He can hit the mid-range with ease. Very consistent shooter at the mid-range spot. And he's a great passer. But he doesn't necessarily do anything great. Like, he doesn't necessarily do anything spectacular. There's not one thing that Theo Maladon does that's like stands out to you, like say, oh, I know what that guy does. He's not a Steph Curry, obviously, where that's just for example, where Steph, you know what Steph does. He's a great passer, but he's a phenomenal shooter. Like Theo Maladon, he's well-rounded. He does everything well, but you're never going to say, hey, Theo, go out there, drop me 30 and 15 assists, or drop me 30 and 10, or 25 and 5. He's not going to be that guy. He's going to get you 10 points and 2 rebounds, maybe 3 assists. He's going to fill up a stat sheet, but he's never going to be the guy off the bench, or even a starter probably. So he kind of falls into that same kind of category as Tre Mann, where I'd love to have him on the team, on the bench, but if the time comes and the situation arises where there's an opportunity to move on from him and use him as a piece in a trade to get somebody that would fit the scheme a little bit better and bring more scoring production as a starter, then I would definitely think about trading Theo Maladon. Another guy that I'm super excited about to build this team around alongside Josh Giddy and Shai is Darius Bazley, 6'8", 23 years old. Oh, excuse me, not 6'8", 21 years old, not 23 years old. That's my bad. 6'8", 21 years old. He's a power forward. He's lanky. He's athletic. He can pass the ball. He can shoot the ball. He can rebound the ball. He's a very well-rounded guy. He's still raw at 21 years old, but he's got the potential to be amazing. If we can get him to develop in the right spots with a little bit of outside shooting help and a little bit of rebounding help, then Darius Bazley, I believe, could be the starting power forward on a championship team. Like I said, he's super raw. He needs more time to develop. He's not going to be ready in year 1. He's not going to be necessarily ready in year number 2. But I say year 3 or year 4, Darius Bazley could be a number 1 option on a championship team. That's the kind of potential that I see inside of him. And I think that OKC is the right opportunity for him to develop. He's still super young at 21 years old. He's got oodles of potential. And if we develop him right, I see Darius Bazley as the 3 option on potential Oklahoma City Thunder championship team. I just like I like everything about him. He's got it all. A guy that I'm not necessarily convinced about is Aleksej Pokusevski. I don't know if I pronounced his name right. I apologize if I didn't. But he's a 7-foot power forward, 19 years old, unbelievably lanky. Not necessarily the most productive big man in the NBA, but he's got potential. Now, what I envision seeing from Pokusevski, he's 7 foot at 19 years old, but he's ultra lanky. I don't think he fits as a power forward. I think he fits better as a small forward. Now, I know that could be a little bit of cheese to move a 7-foot player to small forward, but I just feel like he fits more as a small forward than a power forward, because you're never going to have Pokusevski, even him being 7 foot, you're never going to have him out rebound a power forward in the league. Consistently, at least. He may get you every once in a while, but he's not going to consistently lead a team in rebounding over another power forward to get in on another team. So he's not built for that. He's not built to be a power forward in the NBA. So I feel like if we transition him to small forward and put him on the bench, then I feel like Pokusevski could blossom into something, maybe a 6-man that comes off as a true Iron Man off the bench at small forward. I feel like that's really the only way that I can see Pokusevski working on this team. Otherwise, we might have to move on from him. And I think he's got pretty good value. At least I would value him pretty highly. So I feel like that's really the only way we could physically see him working on this team, is that small forward at a backup spot. Another young guy, 24-year-old center, Mamadi Diakite. I'm not 100% sure if I pronounced his name right, but I do like his potential. Now, he's not the greatest stretch big. You're never going to ask him to go and stretch the floor and shoot a bunch of threes, but he can hit a jumper. He can back down a guy and play some grinded out, kind of close to the rim basketball in the paint, in the close range areas. But I don't necessarily see him working on this team. He's 6'9". He's a very small center for the position. Now, in 2022, you don't necessarily need to be 7 foot to be a center in the league anymore. It's kind of gone to a more space and pace, shoot the ball kind of offenses in the league. So Diakite would fit on a team, but I don't know if he fits necessarily on our team. We could deal him for a draft pick, because I feel like there could be some very, very talented big men in the draft this year, most notably Chet Holmgren. Diakite could work for a team, maybe as a late, close to the end of the bench kind of guy who comes in for garbage time. This is no disrespect to him. He's a great player. I just don't know if his skill set fits for what I'm trying to do here in Oklahoma City. So I would just say don't necessarily get attached to him as a Thunder player. That's all I'm saying. Next on the docket is Derrick Favors, a veteran of the game, 6'9", 30 years old, center, most notably known for his time in Utah. Now, Derrick Favors is a guy that is the veteran leadership that you need on a super young team like this. He can knock down a mid-range with the best of them. He can stretch the floor a little bit with the three-point game. He can definitely pull the opposing team's center out to the three-point line if we need to allow Shai or Josh Giddy or whoever to get into the paint. So that's exciting. But Derrick Favors by no means is safe on this team. Now, I would say that he's lower on the list of guys that I would potentially move on from to get other pieces, because I like what Derrick Favors brings to the squad. He's got the veteran leadership. He's got experience. He can knock down mid-range shots. He's very, very good at rebounding. He's a good player, and I like to have a guy like that on my teams. So Derrick Favors, low on the list of guys that I would move on from quickly, but by no means is safe. So be on the lookout for Derrick Favors to bring that veteran leadership and experience to a young squad like this for probably most of the first season and maybe even into the second season. Who knows? We move to a guy with acceptable athleticism. I say that with all due respect. Kenrich Williams, 6'6", small forward, 26 years old, great mid-range shooter. Doesn't necessarily do anything unbelievably well. He's a decent three-point guy. He can start for a team of this caliber. I wouldn't necessarily have him as a starter on a championship team, but I would certainly love to have him as a bench guy to come in and get you a bucket, because Kenrich, a lot of these guys on the team that we've already discussed and talked about, they're not necessarily starters at this point in their careers, but they can get you a bucket or two off the bench, and Kenrich Williams is probably at the top of that list. I like what he brings to the table with that mid-range ability. He's got a great release. He's got a good mentality, decent facilitator. I like what Kenrich Williams brings, and I like him as a starter right now because we don't necessarily have a small forward that I would necessarily put ahead of him. Now, we talked about earlier with Pokusevski possibly moving him to small forward, but again, both of these guys are more equipped to be backups. Next up is Aaron Wiggins. He is a little bit undervalued, I would say. 6'4", small forward, 22 years old. Got potential, but I don't necessarily know if he's got potential on this team. He might have some trade value that we could use to get maybe a draft pick or another young player. I do like Aaron Wiggins, don't get me wrong. I like his game. I like his shot. His release is very, very fluid. I like what he brings to the table in terms of the shooting aspect. He's a good inside scorer, good three-point guy. He can get you a bucket off the bench like most of these guys that we have on this team. But in the long run, is Aaron Wiggins a guy that you can rely on to get you 40 a night, 35 a night, and carry you to a championship team? No, he's not. And I'm not asking him to do that, because we have guys like Josh Giddy and Shai who are those guys who we will ask to do that. So Aaron Wiggins' role on this team is more of a get you like maybe 5-10 points a game, come off the bench and play for 6-7 minutes a night. Kind of in that same role as a Trey Mann or a Theo Maladon, where he's not necessarily safe because he's young and he has value. And on a championship team, I don't know if he necessarily fits the mold. Now, I'm saying all this championship team stuff. I'm not saying that we're a championship team right now, but in the future, when we are a championship team, I don't know if he fits. Jerome is an interesting one because he is somewhat of a veteran guy. I mean, I say that he's 24 years old. He's a 6'5" shooting guard, one of our taller guys on the team at those positions. I like Ty Jerome. I just don't see him getting a lot of playtime. I want to get some more playtime to those younger guys like Trey Mann, like Aaron Wiggins, like Theo Maladon, to see if they can develop. And I don't necessarily think there's a lot of minutes left over for a guy like Ty Jerome. I love Ty Jerome's game. He's a good facilitator, good passer. He's a good inside scorer. He can hit the occasional three-point shot. He's got a good game. He fits what we're trying to do here, but I don't know if he fits what we're trying to do here at the moment. Like, if this was 4 years down the road and he's a 28-year-old shooting guard who's gone up in overall a little bit and he's developed a little bit, and we're in contention for an NBA championship and we need a backup shooting guard on the team, yeah, I'd bring Ty Jerome in. But I don't think, obviously, the Thunder aren't there yet, by no means anywhere close. And so Ty Jerome, I think, is the first guy we need to move on from. A very interesting player is Isaiah Roby, 23 years old, 6'8" center. I see him as the starting center in year number 2, barring a significant change in terms of maybe a free agent signing or a draft pick. But I see Isaiah Roby developing behind Derrick Favors in year number 1, learning from the position, getting some tips, going one-on-one with some guys in practice. I see that kind of scenario happening, and then Roby eventually taking over as the starting center in year number 2. I feel like he's got a decent game. He's still very, very raw, just like a lot of these younger guys on the team. A lot of these guys are super raw, super undeveloped yet, and they have oodles of potential. And Isaiah Roby, I feel like, is at the top of that list in terms of guys who I feel most confident in developing the quickest. Does he do anything amazingly well? No. He's a very well-balanced center. He's never going to lead your team in scoring, at least not at this point in his career. Maybe a couple years down the road he will, but he shoots a decent mid-range. He can get to the rim. He can rebound. He can stretch the floor a little bit and occasionally shoot you a 3. He can pull that center out, just like what Derrick Favors does. I see him learning very, very quickly from Derrick Favors, and in terms of how Derrick Favors plays, and bringing the opposing team center away from the basket, and allowing our other star players to make some shots. Mike Muscala is a intriguing player because I don't know if he necessarily works on this team. He's 30 years old. He's another one of those veteran presence on the team. We only have 2 guys that are 30 years old on this team, Favors and Muscala. They're both centers, but I just don't see Muscala getting any playing time on this team. I want to develop Pokusevski. I want to develop Isaiah Roby. I want to develop Kenrich Williams a little bit more. I want to develop these guys, and there's just not enough minutes for Mike Muscala. He kind of falls in that Ty Jerome range, where if this was a championship team, if we were like the Brooklyn Nets or the Golden State Warriors or the Bucks, I'd see Muscala fitting on that team as a role player who could come off the bench and get you 10 or 15 if he needed to, and get you 5-10 rebounds a game. I see that as a Mike Muscala player on another team, but on our team, I don't necessarily know if it works. So him and Ty Jerome are probably going to be out the door pretty quickly. The final guy that I want to talk about today is Jeremiah Robinson Earl. He's a very young center / power forward. I see him more as a power forward type of player, maybe even a small forward at some points. Out of Villanova, young guy, 6'8", shoots the three-point ball decently well, doesn't really do anything else great. He can rebound kind of decently, shoot a decent mid-range, I guess. But Jeremiah Robinson Earl is very much a work in progress. If there's anybody on this team that is a work in progress, it is Theo Maladon and Jeremiah Robinson Earl. Now, I'm not saying that hinders their development or that necessarily makes them a candidate to get moved immediately, but I wouldn't be opposed to maybe in a trade package with a Mike Muscala or a Ty Jerome throwing in a Jeremiah Robinson Earl or a Theo Maladon as a little bit of a sweetener to another team to maybe bring in somebody that would help us right now and develop. So Jeremiah Robinson Earl, great player, very big project, I would say, has a lot of potential, but in the grand scheme of things, do I see him on the team if we're holding up a trophy? Not necessarily, no. I don't see him as that. I see him in another jersey. And that's not a knock on him. I just don't think his game fits what we're trying to do in the future. Do we keep him for a season? See how he develops? Maybe. I'm not opposed to that. But in terms of having him in the long run, I don't know. With all that being said, this is your Oklahoma City Thunder team for year number 1 as we start the season in the next episode. Maybe even make a trade or two as we get started with game number 1 of the year. I hope you guys are excited. I am as well. I see a lot of potential in this team. I mean, just look at some of the ages on these guys. 23, 19, 22, 26, 19, 23, 21, 24, 20, 22. Like, just so many young guys on this team that with the right development and the right training and the right encouragement and the right situations could, in a couple of seasons, be holding up a Larry O'Brien trophy on center stage. I see the potential in this team. I hope you guys see it as well. That's going to do it for me, though. I hope you guys are excited. The World of Juice basketball channel is about to take off, and I hope you guys are along for the ride. Hit that like button if you did enjoy. Let me know down below in the comments if you have any opinions on what we should do with some of these players. Maybe you agree or disagree with the possible idea of moving Pokusevski to small forward, the idea of trading Mike Muscala, or maybe even Derrick Favors or Ty Jerome, and maybe packaging in some of those younger guys like a Theo Maladon or a Trey Mann or an Aaron Wiggins, or even a Jeremiah Robinson Earl. Maybe packaging some of these two guys together. That could be a possibility. Just let me know down below in the comments if you have any ideas, and if you tell me if you're liking this series or not. If you are, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, join the Juice Club. We love to have you. It's a great time here. Don't forget to check out the main channel as well if you enjoy Madden and NFL content. There's not just Madden and NFL content, but you can find that out for yourself if you click that link in the description. Thank you guys so much for stopping by and watching. I really do appreciate it. More NBA 2K content is coming to this channel in the near future. I hope you guys are excited because it's going to be a wild ride. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.